Ask yourself these 4 questions. In this episode, I'm going to address the question, how do I attract and cultivate the best customers or clients or patients? So get ready. I'm going to share with you the number 1 key that I explain in my book, 10 Keys to a Transformation in Your Business. This is critical, and you wouldn't believe how many business owners do not ever ask themselves these 4 questions. So I'm Doug Andrew. I have been a financial strategist and a retirement planning specialist for 4.5 decades. In that time, I have been honored to have written so far 11 books. My 12th book is just about to be released on the 10 Keys Transformation. And this is covered in the very, very first key. This is for business owners, for entrepreneurs, and I have facilitated many mastermind groups of business owners to help them take their business, their practice, whether they're an orthodontist, a chiropractor, a realtor, a CPA. It doesn't matter what you do. If you sell cars, if you own a dealership, if you're a mechanic, whatever you do or whatever you own, if you will ask yourself these 4 questions, you will begin to understand what is the profile of your ideal client, customer, or patient. And as you get very clear on the profile of your ideal client, you will understand the power behind spending 80% of your time with those people. Do you know that most business owners, they spend 80% of their time with the people that only make up 20% of their income? 80% of their income is made up from only the top 20% of their clients or customers. You need to flip that. It's the 80-20 rule. So get ready. I'm going to share with you how you can be focusing 80% of your time on the clients, customers, and patients that make up 80% or more of your revenue. So as I mentioned, the 80-20 rule basically shows us that 80% of your revenue is derived from the top 20% of your clients or customers. This is very common. And so the objective here is to flip that so that you are spending 80% of your time with the people that make up 80% or more of your income. And frankly, your income will go through the roof. And so when we talk about these 4 questions, what is the very first question when you're trying to identify the profile of your ideal client? Now, I take this from a wonderful book called Attracting Perfect Customers. I know the authors, Stacy Hall and Jan Brognay, and they recommend that you write down what are the attributes of my ideal client. So when I did this the first time years ago, I wrote down, that they're open-minded, they're punctual, they're appointment keepers, they're grateful for my advice, they're free in expression of their feelings, they're honest in communication, they use the tools I provide, okay? They respect and trust me, and they have high values. So these are some of the attributes, and it wasn't until I started thinking, golly, those are the people I want to be around. I want clients and customers that brighten the office when they enter it instead of brightening the office when they leave it. Do you understand what I mean? And so life's too short than to have to put up with people that really don't appreciate you and you don't appreciate them. And so you begin to identify the profile with these questions. The first one being, what are the attributes of my ideal client? So the second question you must ask yourself when you want to identify the profile of your ideal client is to ask, what makes my ideal client tick? In other words, what is their main purpose for living, and who and what is most important to them? Now, I have a question that I learned from my good friend and coach, Dan Sullivan, to be able to determine who and what is most important to my clients. But whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a chiropractor, this is very critical. You want to understand what makes them tick. What is their main purpose for living? What are they passionate about? What keeps them up at night? What are they worried about and so forth? And who and what is most important to them? Now, knowing the kind of people that get attracted to me through radio or through this YouTube channel, I know that it's usually people that have high values. But normally, when I start to talk to them, I ask them certain questions to be able to find out what makes them tick. Then you're ready to go to the next two questions to determine the profile of your ideal client and begin to market to those people. So, the third question you ask yourself, what do your ideal clients expect you to deliver? So when I did this exercise the very first time years ago, I wrote down, well, give them the same advice and direction that I follow, okay? I want to walk my talk, and I want them to follow the same advice that I would be doing myself with my own money or what have you. Clarify principles and be thorough. Be available directly and indirectly. Communicate openly and honestly. Be courteous and professional. Return phone calls. Be proactive, okay? The latest and the greatest. Always be there showing them what is the latest thing that we could incorporate in their situation. And instead of being sort of a reactive and say, oh, when they say, why didn't you tell me about this? Well, you never ask. You need to be proactive instead of reactive. Be on time and finish what we start. These are called referability factors. You wouldn't believe how many business owners don't understand how to get referrals. Dan Sullivan talks about these 4 referability factors. Be on time. Finish what you start. Always say please and thank you. Do what you say you're going to do. Okay? So that's what I feel that my ideal clients expect me to deliver. So I want to get very clear about this with them as we proceed. Get ready for the 4th and final question to identify the profile of your ideal client. So the 4th and final question you ask yourself to identify the profile of your ideal client is to honestly answer, what do you need to do to improve your relationship with your ideal client? Now, as I mentioned, Dan Sullivan, an entrepreneurial coach, taught me what is called the R factor question. It stands for relationship factor. And that's where I sit down with clients, and I will usually start out the very first interview with, okay, Jim and Mary, thank you for your time. If we were sitting here 3 years from today, or 5 years or whatever, but I usually use 3 years, and we were to look back over those 3 years to today, what has to have happened in your life, both financially and in other areas of your life, for you to be happy with the progress you made? And then you just sit back and take notes. As they begin to open up, you will begin to develop a relationship. That's why he calls it the relationship factor. And then you proceed to help them achieve those dreams. And you focus on eliminating the dangers, the roadblocks, the hindrances that would prevent them from what they just expressed, helping them seize the greatest opportunities to make sure that comes to fruition, and then also harnessing their best strengths and the strengths of others and what you can provide to make sure that vision comes to pass. So when I actually asked this of myself the very first time, I wrote down things like, communicate my desire to improve. Clarify their plan for their brighter future. Many times it was a financial plan, but it was more comprehensive in their health, capturing their family histories, all kinds of things. Conduct annual reviews. Give them a sense of belonging through all kinds of different ways by high touch with communication and so forth, whether it's cards on Thanksgiving instead of just Christmas or whatever. Show them appreciation. Provide reasons to respect me. Don't just expect it. Provide reasons for them to respect me. Communicate that they meet my profile of an ideal client. This is profound. Many times I tell people, and I'm honest, I'm sincere, and I go, you know what? You are one of my favorite people in the entire world. Because, and then I tell them why. They appreciate that. Create a meaningful transformation for them. In fact, this is the first key in my new book, The 10 Keys Transformation, because all too often people, entrepreneurs, business owners, doctors, dentists, chiropractors, realtors, CPAs, doesn't matter what you do, they oftentimes do not realize that it is not about you, it's about them. So many times I've seen professionals put all of the alphabet soup behind their name and all their degrees on the wall and everything. It's not about you. It's about them. And you want to attract the perfect ideal client or customer. You want to improve the relationship so that they come to you because they think clearer about their future. They feel better about your expertise and so forth, but they walk away feeling better about their future, their smile if you're an orthodontist, that you don't just straighten teeth, you build beautiful smiles. You provide something that nobody else provides at the level you do. And so in my book, 10 Keys to a Transformation, it takes professionals from a transactional experience where you provide a good or a service in exchange for money, that's just a transaction, to a transformational situation where you transform people financially, physically, spiritually, socially. And when you create a meaningful transformation, you will have the highest compensation with the least competition. So if you would like to learn more and you would like to get a copy of this book, usually I allow people, if they just contribute a nominal amount towards the postage and the shipping, I'll cover the rest of that, and I will pay for the book. And it's 10 Keys to a Transformation in Your Career. I would recommend you check this out on Doug Andrew, DougAndrew, dougandrew.com. And you'll see there that I've authored many books. I usually post my most recent books. Also, if you want, you can book me as a speaker. I love teaching people, especially business owners, keys like this one that you've watched in this episode.